watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, and I'd like to extend my deepest apologies for allowing the also-rans to taint your podcast listening experience for the past 2 weeks. This week, the professionals are stepping back in. I'm joined by Andy, and I should clarify, by professional, I do not mean people who are getting paid to do this, because this venture remains an absolute money pit, at least until we get those ads promoting male crotch grooming. So Andy, on that note about male crotch grooming, how'd you feel about this episode?
Largely the same way I feel about the world's best male crotch grooming products. I
thought you were going to feel the same way about my smooth segues.
Speaking of smooth, did you know that you could go with short? This has gone off the rails, and I love it. This week's episode, the beauty of Survivor and the way that like the second screen experience and all of that works for Survivor is I never actually have to decide while watching or even like right after I'm done watching how I felt about the episode. All I need to do is, maybe feel one way, maybe lean one way or another. And then I can just log on to Twitter and let it tell me about all the ways that Survivor sucks. So apparently, this was an episode, like every episode in the history of Survivor since the dawn of Survivor Twitter, that really just illustrates all of the problems with Survivor.
I stopped Twitter a while ago. I don't even have a timestamp on it at this point. It's been long enough that I've forgotten, which really, knowing me, could have been 2 days ago, and I would have completely forgotten already. But not being on Twitter, it is weird to then have my opinions and hear that, people are saying this episode sucked and think, really? I mean,
yeah,
I enjoyed it.
I thought it was fine. I mean, not in the way that I've been for a couple seasons now, it was fine. No, it was okay. Yeah. There are some issues. Absolutely. We're going to get into
Sure.
it. But yeah, I'll say when I did that and then I logged in, other than, I should know. It's Twitter, right? But it's getting heated over this one, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't seem like there's enough here to raise your ire. I mean, for me, my opinion on it was solely based on entertainment value and was I entertained? And I think it's that because last season I just was not. And so the bar for me this year is set at, was I entertained in the hour of my life I devoted to watching this episode? And the answer was yes this week.
Yeah, I think they put together some compelling stuff. Again, I'm not even here to just, completely make fun of people who are pointing out potential problems with this. We are going to do that pretty soon. But yeah, no, I thought it was compelling enough. The hour moved. That's always a good thing. I'm ready for more next week. So yeah, and you know what? It could be a small sampling. I kind of logged on, and I don't go on Twitter at all when the show is happening. 2 reasons. One, I don't watch live. Even last night I could have, but I'm let's wait 20 minutes so I don't have to sit through commercials. And 2, I like to actually pay attention to what I'm watching, especially for, the venture that we are doing here. My favorite part of the commenter is people who are dead set on knowing what would happen. And then when you press them upon it, it's oh, actually, I wasn't paying attention to that moment. It's yeah, that... Or the ones that complain about how complicated Survivor has gotten, but it's obvious that they do not, give their full attention to the thing that they are claiming to be too complicated in the first place.
Which is yet another reason why I was I don't think that the live tweeting thing is ideal for me. So
Yes.
That's why I've turned that responsibility over to absolutely anyone who's willing to step up to the plate.
I'll be honest, I actually don't know who's doing it on our
they like to keep anonymity. So I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus because, God forbid, we end up getting canceled. I'm not going to sell anybody out. Who knows who it was?
That's right. No, we don't talk to cops here.
No snitching.
Yeah. So I'm dancing around it, but I do think like one of the major complaints that people had of this episode is the mechanics that they introduced within this. So we get this, 3 people going on an island, apparently going on a journey where they're supposed to talk to each other. We don't get any of that. Bravo. No problems with that decision.
What if the conversation was terrible?
Yeah. What if the vibes are bad? Nobody ever asks.
Exactly.
And then they show up and they have to make a decision of which path to take. More on that later. And then suddenly they're gifted an idol. And I think right there, as soon as everyone gets an idol, I think there was probably just a segment of the audience that's like throwing their hands up in the air and it's like, I hate Survivor. Which again, not a dramatic difference between how they react to everything that happens on the show. But there was that. So let's start there. What do you think about the kind of swap-ish product that we got this episode and a bunch of idols thrown in there?
Let's call it a soft swap for the swingers in the audience. To me, the idol thing felt like a response to the swap screw that we've gotten in past seasons, right? Like it felt like you're going to get someone, you're almost forcing them into being swap screwed here. They're going to be the distinct minority. No, the party of one, vastly outnumbered in a new tribe. And then the response is to give them an idol so that they're then safe. And I kind of hate that. The tribe is just too small to be doing that. I mean, even just last night, you had a tribe that had 2 people with legit idols in a tribe of 4. I don't know. I think I understand the idea of switching someone to a new tribe and seeing how the dynamics work and not wanting that person immediately voted out because of it. But you also can't completely eliminate the risk for someone going to that new tribe. I don't think this is the fix for the swap screw thing. What did you think?
I think it's the fix to a problem they're creating.
Right.
Because yes, absolutely. They decided they want to do this where they're going to swap one person over to each tribe. And interesting how it worked out that everyone ended up on new tribes in what we are told is a completely random choice.
Mm-hmm.
More on that later. So yeah, they're like, okay, well, we do that though, but won't they just be the immediate target? And the show has obviously had this in the past. Pick your 2 strongest members so to go on a meeting. Ha ha! You're on a new tribe. And then, in China, they throw a challenge to get rid of one of those 2. Pick the people who have the most tribe spirit. Ha ha! Screw you. You're not going to be in your tribe anymore. That happens in Guatemala. So it's happened in this. And then sometimes just in just normal type swaps that are randomized, you'll get situations where only one person is now surrounded by a bunch of people who are on a tribe together. All-Stars happened. It would be a famous example of it, but it happens, right? So it's like, if we do this, that person is screwed. Well, that's not fair. So let's give them protection. Idol. And in some ways, giving them an idol is more interesting than, say, you are immune for the very first vote, which is how they did it, say, way back in Pearl Islands, because it does introduce a bit of are they going to use the idol or not, which we got storytelling wise, at least in this episode. It's not a sure guarantee that you will be immune, but if you're not a dummy, you will be. So it's okay, so that person isn't screwed. But the problem with all of this is now you've screwed the other people in this scenario, right? The people who were not swapped. One of them's getting screwed because, the natural tendency would be, let's vote out this next person. That's the problem they're trying to solve with this idol. But then it's because they don't know they have an idol, and I do believe that everybody there at least be what if? We saw a bit of people what if they have an idol? Some people in different comments, Twitter or whatever, how dumb are they to not assume? It's I think they are assuming.
They probably all did, yes.
But they're also talking through what if not, because that's the thing. It's well, now we can't vote for this person. We have to turn on each other, unless, of course, they don't. So it's it is unfair to the other people. the one so for me, it's just like I don't like this form of swap at all. So it's like I get why they did the idols. If you're going to do this, sending one random person so they can be completely outnumbered in every situation they're in, then yeah, I feel like you do have to give them something, which then leads to. But you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to just send one person, because like, what are you accomplishing? Even it's not a full swap.
I think narratively, what they're trying to accomplish is just like a sort of fish out of water situation. Like, let's throw one person into the other tribes, like see how they would be doing, how that changes the dynamics of the tribe or whatever it might be. But I think just the idol as the fix to that, I get what you're saying in that there is some quote unquote drama as to whether they'll use the idol. I would say that's a near zero chance that they wouldn't use the idol to save themselves, because
I do not have that faith. I feel like modern players are stupid enough and get like, dragons hoardy enough with this stuff that I could see somebody.
Oh man. Well, we'll talk about a modern player that was pretty stupid very soon. Yep. But one of the things that I thought is like, why not just make it like a vote steal or something like that, where there's at least some element of like the player who's coming to this new tribe has to adapt, but at least can do so with a chance, right? If you've got a vote steal, like maybe you've just got to get one person to your side and whatever it might be, in large part, you're probably going to get screwed. It's going to be really difficult, but I don't know that going the exact opposite direction and being like, no, you're actually perfectly safe, as you said, that just then shifts the screwed portion to another player who wouldn't have been voted out because of this.
Yeah, and it's like, again, you're solving a problem that you're creating. The solution is maybe we don't create that problem. Maybe we don't do it this way. Now, we keep talking about it, that they're trying to solve for being swap screwed. That's the problem with the swap always. Always somebody's getting fucked. And it's just like they just switched who it was, which in some ways I guess is maybe more interesting. It would be really uninteresting if they're all like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's just get Josh out. Even without any level of fear about it. Now, that's the other thing. Maybe you don't need to give them anything because there's going to be a level of fear anyway. And we'll talk about that and how that affected the decision making on this particular instance. But yeah, it's like last week, a lot of people were talking about how one of the problems with the modern brand of Survivor, with this massive hoard of data that we have of 3 whole damn seasons, that there isn't swaps, and that's causing an imbalance in things. And it's like, I participate in that discussion too, except it's like, wait, we all realize that like swaps are random and horrible for someone, right?
Yep.
And so like we're upset here that like, yeah, it has made it, worse for, it made it worse for, Sarah this episode. It could make it worse for other people on Ratu and Soka, but it's like, it always makes it worse for someone. And I know like some of the complaint is like, how does the modern Survivor player ever plan for anything? Because the show is just always throwing new stuff at them. You're talking about a swap. That sounds like a Survivor Africa type complaint. Like I feel like yes, I get that this swap was different, but there's no way to ever properly plan for a swap. It has always been randomized, Yeah, even when you're like, there's going to be a swap, we can plan that there's going to be one. You can't plan on what's going to happen with the result,
Right.
So, yeah, there's always been this level of randomization in Survivor. So I don't feel like in this instance that has dramatically affected the game. But having 6 idols in the game this early, that might be a bit of an effect.
Especially given the amount of players in the game. And I think if you were doing
6 idols at once, that's got to be a record.
If you're doing like a consolidation into 2 tribes at this point, like then maybe, even then, I don't love 3 freebie idols just being handed out. And not only that, but being like, well, you basically have to use these ASAP because they're going to be worthless really soon.
But that's better than 6 ones that are going to be here until we have 6 people left.
And that's very fair. But I'm saying, like, I think your earlier argument that, maybe people wouldn't use it. I mean, if you don't know when a merge is coming, just fucking use it. You might not go back to tribal council. So,
No, again, for me, I would always use it.
right.
I can just see that there be people who might not. And then frankly, there might be people who might not, especially if like you're the third person to go to tribal council. At that point, maybe you have ingratiated yourself enough. Although again, if you're the third one, this is probably the last tribal council, so use it, But yeah, I can see people trying to get clever with it. Maybe even trying to do I use this to make myself immune twice. Fake playing it this time, and then nobody throw the votes off me. So again, like it is a bit more than you can't vote for this person, but it's also a trap in that result. At least the people on Pearl Islands knew they couldn't vote for those people, although Andrew Savage apparently wasn't paying attention to that note at first. But before he got to tribal council, he knew that. These people, they either blanket give that person immunity, or they're going to get idled out of the game. So somebody's getting screwed. The whole thing is like, let's try to prevent these three people from getting swap screwed. You're just moving the swap screwing to someone else. Every swap, someone gets screwed.
So I think part of it too is that the sending them off to these islands to have these journeys, and they walk and they talk and they interact with the people who are not on their tribe. I think that was also supposed to be the thing that would give us these dynamics among people that we haven't seen interact yet, right? Except you already had that, and it clearly didn't give you anything because we saw nothing of their journey. They didn't say anything useful that made the cut for the television product, right? So instead, we see people on new tribes, and I don't know that necessarily dramatically increased the interest. I guess it just then makes you wonder, okay, well, now where are votes going to go? Which is something. But again, my guess is the impulse is that you do this for some new narrative that hasn't been told yet. And then, you already had that with sending these people off to this tribe to get their advantages. So I don't get the need for this like minor swap thing.
The one thing, like a positive that a possible positive anyway, is it does introduce the element of danger toward going here. Because what now it's been since, they started doing this 41 on is I want to go to that island. That's my possible jackpot. I could get something there. So screwing over some people that go to the island at least maybe adds an element of fear, which, I didn't like it when like certain advantages were like that, like the Beware advantage or for something, right? Like that. Either it's going to be something great or haha, you're screwed. That I didn't like because I didn't want to encourage the idea of maybe you don't want to do things. Maybe you don't want to have things. But I don't mind the idea of we're sending you to a mysterious something. Is it good or is it bad? Who knows? So introducing that. Now, you could argue they already had a bit of that because of all the vote losing. So again, it might not be a tweak that was necessary. In all, I didn't like it. I just swap or don't swap. Don't do this.
No half measures.
3 more idols. Yeah. But yeah, do you think this swap was like actually randomized as they said, or do you think the show fixed it of who is going where?
It's pretty impressive that. I mean, I don't remember the odds, and I think one of our commenters, I think it was
Rogue
Wall
Enthusiast.
Yeah. Actually did write up the probabilities for each possible option.
It's basically 1/3, right?
Right. I mean, that would have been my rough guess, is that it would be 1/3.
Which isn't terrible, but, the one time you did it, it worked out perfectly because, it'd be really funny if, just Josh goes back to Soka with an idol.
Right. That's the thing is, you could have just had a scenario where everybody goes back to their original tribe. Like that was, if it's completely randomized, that was a possible outcome is everybody goes back and grabs their original buff.
Yeah. Or just like one person goes back and 2 people switch positions.
Sure.
Or I don't think 2 and 1 is possible. So, but everybody's on a new tribe now with this, new live element of another idol in the game. One that you probably shouldn't screw up. But again, like I say, I'll keep repeating this. I have full confidence that somebody could screw it up. Maybe not this season, I'm talking about like if this became a permanent thing, because we see people screw up idols all the fucking time. I mean, we had Gabler being like, I'm not going to play this 2-time use idol only. Instead, I might do a shot in the dark. It happens. So could somebody screw this up? Yes, it would be a massive screw up if they did. But what ends up happening is, we get Josh going to Tika, and that tribe loses. So do you think that Josh was always, like you said, of course they're always going to play the idol?
Yes.
Do you think he was always going to play it, or do you believe the thing he was saying, that he was telling Carolyn that he would play it for her?
Absolutely, he would not. I mean, that is the thing that you should say to somebody, like, I'd be willing to play it for you because I really need an ally. Sure, feel free to say that. There's almost zero chance he would have. I can't imagine a world where he's like, well, I'll roll the dice and put my guaranteed immunity on Carolyn instead.
It's when he's saying it, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Again, my scenario where somebody could mess it up is like not the next day, maybe he's integrated at some point. Yeah, I don't know. He certainly seemed very confident and impressed by the moves he himself was making, these proposed ideas. But I will still allow for the heavy hand of editing in that. Not that I have anything to really go on when it comes to Josh. We are introduced basically to him this episode as somebody who has a greater degree of confidence in their place in the game than what we are being led to believe is his actual place in the game. We are introduced as like, hey, I'm in such a great spot. Both of these two sides need me. Everything worked out great for Josh, the amazing game player. And then the next scene we get is Danny being like, hey, so we're all going to vote Josh, right?
Right. Unanimously,
So,
4 other people are like, oh, absolutely.
Which again could be bullshit. That's what you say, right? When it's like, hey, let's the 4 of us all be together. Absolutely, that is the answer. But like, that is the story, at least that the episode is crafting, which kind of gets back to the earlier question of like, what do we think of this episode? I thought they did a good job crafting a story, despite all of this stuff. Especially because I'm not somebody who typically gets confused by the new elements that get thrown at us. Because I'm a genius, obviously.
Just like Josh.
Yeah. So it's like, with that, and then, he's the one telling us that his big brain plan is to play the idol for Carolyn. It is inconceivable, but I don't know. Like, is he too smart for that? He also, as this very episode shows, is a guy who thinks he's very smart in lying about his career, and yet missing all of the details that would go with said big lie. Because you can't be a surgeon and win Survivor?
Yeah, it was just one of those things that wasn't totally thought through. Like, I mean, if you're going to lie about your job, fine, do that. But at the same time, just maybe devote some level of effort to it. Like, I as a fellow lazy person, I appreciate that he expended about as little effort as possible. And also, as someone who would lie about their job, totally relatable to me. I love being an accountant just as much as Josh loves being a personal trainer, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I understand this. But at the same time, maybe just, I don't know, spend 5 minutes crafting a backstory. It could be anything.
I love the 11-year education plan of personal trainer, though. That's a good journey.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of undergrad credits.
That's what I'm saying. It takes a long time to learn the glutes and the hammies, buddy. You just can't, just storm right out of the gate and just start telling people how to lift. It takes 11 solid years of effort.
You can't just keep taking first-year courses. Here's a thought, though. Is personal trainer more or less dangerous than surgeon? Because oh wow, that guy is really physical and fit. And he's obviously some of that you're going to know by looking at him. But are people more often voted out of this game because they present themselves as a physical threat? Or are they more often voted out of this game because of what their job is? Is it possible he crafted a story that actually makes him more dangerous than, like, Surgeon?
I don't know. That might be a stretch. I think the real thing that he's worried about is getting to the end and then people being like, oh, you're rich and successful anyway. You don't need this. Which, again, getting pretty far ahead of yourself here. Like,
yeah, I mean, as he explains it to us, it seemed like he was more worried that he didn't want people knowing how smart he was.
Uh-huh.
So in doing so, for one, you're kind of proving the opposite. And for two, you're putting forth how physical you are. Like, I feel like those things are equally threatening. And also, you know, surgeons are the jocks of the medical world. Like, you're not, I don't know. Again, not everybody knows that. They just hear doctor. They hear, oh, Gabler's a heart something, something. Again, nobody seemed particularly threatened by any of the times that Gabler mentioned he was in on surgeries. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Surgeons are like that guy in Scrubs. So anyway, yeah, sure. He was always going to play it. But do you think Carolyn also told him to play it?
I think it can be two things. I think that Carolyn almost definitely did say something to Josh. I think there was enough of a bond there that we saw in that, like, they're walking out of tribal council and Carolyn's like rubbing Josh's back and they like reach over and held each other's hand at tribal council. Like, there's some form of relationship there where they're willing to work together. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Carolyn said something. And I think Carolyn has evolved into this like crafty weirdo. You know, she started the season as like the just absolute goofball, but she's becoming actually in this episode a literal crafty weirdo because she made an arts and craft project that looks like a preschooler would make it. But we're starting to see some game sense from her. And I think that, you know, she might have legitimately wanted to bail on Yam Yam or Sarah or both. And in that instance would have tipped off Josh. Now, did Josh necessarily need to hear that in order to play the idol for himself? I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but you know, you can't underestimate the stupidity of Survivor players.
Yeah, I think almost definitely Carolyn let him in on what was going to happen. Yeah, it's an open question, one that really actually isn't all that important, whether Josh needed to be told or not. And I think Carolyn was absolutely right to do so, because Yam Yam's whole plan was great for Yam Yam, shitty for Carolyn. If Carolyn doesn't flip, if she just lets it ride and they all vote for Josh, as was the plan, but they let Josh know that we're voting for Carolyn, put your vote on Carolyn. Carolyn goes home this episode.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah. Well,
unless she uses her own idol, which then expends her idol.
Right. And that's not part of Yam Yam's plan because he doesn't know that she has one. His whole plan is, oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, we should do this just in case he has an idol, but it'll be fine. It's like, not to the second part, but if he has one, what? Like, at the very least, even if Carolyn doesn't tell Josh what's going on, she needs to vote for Sarah. You know, because to protect herself from Josh voting for her. Now, I don't think that would offer that much protection because Yam Jam's probably going to vote for Carolyn, right? So, yeah, no, I think Carolyn made the absolute right move. Right up, even including what the aftermath is now. Instead of potentially being the third with, Yam Yam and Sarah, which, I don't know if she would have been, but I can certainly understand why you feel that way, since Yam Yam didn't suggest that Sarah should be the decoy vote. Now she is essential for both Josh and Yam Yam. It's fine if Yam Jam's pissed off about it. Don't know what he can do about it. Yeah.
Right. What's your other option, buddy?
Yeah, try to turn Josh against Carolyn. I don't know. So, I think Carolyn made the exact right move here, and I think she was backed into a corner in part from the thing we discussed earlier, that the very act of giving this outsider, blanket immunity, makes it so that they, somebody in there is going to have to go. Carolyn made sure it wasn't.
As she should.
Yes.
And I mean, it's the same thing with Josh and the idol. Like, yeah, you should make sure it's not you that goes home. Like, you can't know for sure. You have something temporary. In Carolyn's case, she couldn't know for sure that she wouldn't be sent home. Make it sure. Like, make it a sure thing for you. And she did. Or at least she tried, I should say.
Yeah. So I think she played this actually really well. And,
Yep.
I think I do think people are coming around on this. I think we are starting to come around on this. She may be weird, but she's not stupid. And
Yep.
I think Jam Jam did not make that assessment correctly. I think
It's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think that like he's conflated her being weird with her being too dumb for this game. They are not one and the same. There's often overlap, but they are not. The Venn diagram is not a circle there. Like, there is certainly a case where it happens, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, and like I still like the guy, but he did this
Same.
completely to himself. He, had the option to get rid of her and to have a more stable player in Helen around. I understood why he might not have wanted that option, because it did feel like, Carson, Sarah, Helen were 3 and he would have been 4. Fair, sure. But his expressed reason was, I want to keep the weirdos around, like me. Well, this is a potential consequence of that, because it seemed like a lot of what she's picking up off is she doesn't like being treated that way or any other way. She requires a level of attention. And most players in Survivor don't have the game for that sort of thing. Everybody likes to think that they could be 4th time playing Boston Rob. Most people can't be, including probably 1st, 2nd, and 3rd time playing Boston Rob. It is really hard to manage an unpredictable, character type player, to the degree that, like, Jam Jam, probably assuming he's the great big star of his tribe, is number 2 on the attention grabbing sequence. So it's like, you are built for this, and he just found out why in a relatively painful way. Not, of course, the most painful way. He did not go home. But it's like, he just thought, okay, Carolyn, I protected her. She's my goat, and she'll do what I say. Nuh-uh. No. And that, good for her, bad for him.
So let's talk about the person who did have to pay much more painfully. Sarah, who went home, and she went home with a fake idol in her pocket, which she thought was real, as she gave her final voting confessional. But you reminded me that's not even all she has. She also had the inheritance advantage, which, had she played that and played her own idol, at least what we thought, or what she thought was a realistic idol, or real idol,
to protect herself from the possibility of Josh having an idol.
Yes. So she could have, A, gotten her own idol back. And if Josh played an idol, she could have gotten 2 idols in that scenario. Now, this is all doesn't matter anyway, because the idol she had was fucking fake. And so she's going home anyway. But still, why would you not play in that scenario? What is the point of being me playing any random RPG game and just having 99 healing potions the whole game that you'll never use? Just don't save up for a day that's not coming. The day is right now. Just use it before you go home with it.
This is why I can't put it past a Survivor player who has been put in an incredibly tenuous situation with a very temporary idol not fucking that situation up, because I just saw it happen. Again, she thinks this is an end of the game idol. But still, man, this is an incredibly dangerous part of the game you're in. You're one of 4 people. One of those 4 people you should have reasonable expectation has been given some sort of thing to offer some level of protection. Maybe it's not an idol, right? But something. You know that you do not have a great relationship with Carolyn. You were on the outside of the last time that these people voted. Of course, without a vote yourself, because Sarah did not have one. It's not time to hoard that booty. It is time to spend it. And yeah, it could not be a better time. So when the very first episode of this, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know I've already done the I told you so, because I freaking love doing that. Showing off how right I was. I said that because people were freaking out as they are wont to do. That this whole advantage, this legacy advantage, not the is it legacy? No, it's
Inheritance
advantage is way too powerful. You could steal every idol and advantage in this game if they're all played at that Suri Tribal Council. And my point was like, man, this thing isn't getting played. It's just so hard to predict when you could do it that it's going to go home almost certainly without it being played. That already 100% correct on. But my thinking is that, yeah, people just get so fixated that I got to optimize, completely maximize how I can use this power. And that is almost certainly what completely screwed her. I mean, not really screwed her, because as you say, it's all fake. But in the thinking, when we're judging the decision making, we have to be in Sarah's mind. And in Sarah's mind, she has an honest to God, real life idol. And in fairness to her, it was made by production. Yeah. And even in exit interviews, she said that, like, this one looked different than the beads around camp. So, Now, I don't know. Was she really thinking it that hard? Maybe she's thinking, is this real or fake? I bet she just thought it was real. And no shade on her if she did. You know you have an idol. You know you have a way of maintaining that idol. This is the time. But she doesn't want to do it now. She wants to do it later. And especially, you'd say, okay, well, maybe you hold on to it. But as soon as Josh plays his idol, like, now there's down to 2 people. It's you or Yam Yam. It's you or Yam Yam. You know it's not Carolyn. Because why would he play his idol? Because what you're trying to do to him is get him to vote for Carolyn like the rest of you. At the very least, even if you think it's Carolyn, it's 1 in 3. It's not Josh. It is not the person you voted for. It's idol time. But she doesn't play that idol, and I bet the reason she doesn't play her idol is because she already hadn't played the inheritance advantage. So now she's like, oh, I only wanted to play my idol when I played the inheritance advantage, so I get it back. So because she didn't already play her inheritance advantage, with a reminder, has to be done in the voting booth, she now, even when confronted with the whole crap, it could be me, hangs on to that idol so she could maximize the inheritance thing. Even though it's like, man, this was the time to maximize the theoretical time anyway. It was a time when you could have gotten 2 idols. Like, this is the time. You're never going to get a better opportunity than that. Because, again, she doesn't know that Josh's idol is underpowered. So if you're assuming that there's probably an idol, you have an idol, you have to do it now. But the Survivor player won't do it because they're always going to think that there's some better time later.
Yeah, and then, again, ultimately, this doesn't matter. She still should have done all the things that we're saying. It wouldn't have saved her because the idol that she had no real power, and she would have been voted out. And so her inheritance advantage thing wouldn't have worked anyway. But still, fucking do something. I think that was really what upset me. Is that, there's, you and I have said many times, just don't sit there and be timid. The game is full of risks. Take your risks. Take the fucking shot rather than sitting there and hoping. Yeah. And she just sat there and hoped, and look where it got her.
And like in the moment, I was like, honestly, because I was starting to feel bad. It's like, well, at least she didn't look stupid for playing a fake idol. At least she didn't have to deal with that. But then after, it's like, why the hell did she not play an idol? You think it's real? Do you think there's going to be a time in the game where you need it more than now? Have some confidence in yourself that you won't be put in a situation like this. And again, later doesn't matter. Survive now, especially because, again, you had it in your power to just refresh this idol in the first place. So, yeah, no, it was a horrible mistake by Sarah. And, nobody played it worse than her. So I can't, be upset that she was the one that went home. Especially because also I think if, normal Tika had just gone to tribal council, which they probably would have, she probably would have been voted out anyway. So it's like, I don't even know how swap screwed she was. She's, you had a theoretical way of saving yourself, and you didn't take it. And, you were already at the bottom of the tribe anyway. But, what's more important in all of this discussion, though, is how about those fake idols, though, huh? They are so powerful in this game that people don't even fucking play them. This is what we're worried about. This is what, we're going through the arts and crafts and making red X's and all of that, all for a thing that people just don't even think to play. That's where we're at now. That is how worthless fake idols have become. They were always worthless. Now they're so worthless they don't even get played.
So what's interesting is I think I've come to the conclusion that part of the reason people think fake idols are important, that they do have value, is that they get shown on TV. So there must be some narrative reason, like, oh my God, they must have value. Like, we're learning about them. We're seeing them. We're, seeing people have these wild machinations where they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this fake idol for whatever thing. None of which ever works out. Almost never works out. But I get why the production team of the show wants the fakes to exist, right?
Yeah.
They want it just for the entertainment value. Like, they're getting footage and content out of this. The players, you would think, at some point would realize, like, oh, yes, you're getting airtime out of these things, but basically no game advantage out of this. This is not going to do anything to advance your game. There's near zero chance that it actually helps you in any conceivable way.
Even if Sarah had played it, why did that get Carolyn?
Right. That's what I'm saying is, like, does that somehow make Carolyn look like a genius? Is she going to go in front of Final Tribal and say, well, you guys didn't see this, but way back when I convinced Sarah that she had a real idol because I hid one. And everybody's like, oh, bravo.
One
Who's
that
Sarah?
the show gave to me. It's another
Yes.
thing. Like, I didn't even really come up with the idea myself. I added this extra layer of it and putting an X by the birdcage, which is also why not just hide the key? It's like, now I guess, what I'm thinking about it more is if they were assuming that Helen left with the idol, then maybe this red X tells you there's no idol here. But it's just like, yeah, again, all to fake out somebody for why? I don't know what strategic value. Carolyn didn't even know that Sarah was the one that found it. And we've already listed the ways that it could backfire, and the other 2 times it happened. Another way it could just backfire is people tend to play differently when they think they have an idol. And you're always thinking that, well, not you, John. The person making the fake idol, that's going to lead them to make mistakes. What if it leads them to play a little bit more, confidently than you wanted them to? Like, Jamie certainly seems like a different person now than the person who, played the shot in the dark in the very first tribal council, right? She's feeling pretty good about herself now that she thinks she has 2 idols. Maybe she's going to be a little more bold. Maybe she's not going to do what you say, Maybe it's going to be the not merge when all people are on the beach and thus those idols don't work. And Jamie's going to be like, I don't need to partner with Matthew. I got this thing. And I don't need to do your plan. I'm protected. Like, it's nothing. It's not a thing. And now that the show is literally handing them over, it's not even entertaining. It's not even clever anymore. So I was always right, and now I'm even more right, is what I think I'm saying.
I'm glad you could feel so
we
validated.
should clip that, and I should just play it whatever. It doesn't have to be about this subject.
It should be our new theme song. We'll auto-tune it. It'll be great. Yeah, I mean, the Jamie thing is a good point because, say Jamie then has her real idol and the fake idol, and she's like, I got 2 idols. Now I can go parlay this into getting an ally on my side. And she suddenly then gets people working with her on the strength of this fake idol that she's fooled by. And then other people she shows are also fooled by. And now she turns on you. Like, ultimately, this could work out to be fucking horrible for you to make a fake idol. Like, I don't see what people think the strong odds are that this fake idol scheme is going to help them. Like, there's the possibility of it benefiting your game is just so remote. Like, why? I am all for taking risks, but measured, right? Like,
and it's rarely even a risk, right? It's just something. And I think what you were saying earlier, it gets on TV.
Yeah, which I get for these people is a big thing. They're out there for a reason. Survivor casts people who care about that camera time.
Yeah. I know it's always been true, but now it's a particular camera time. They want to be seen being on Survivor, doing the Survivor stuff, right? And it feels like so many of these contestants have their bucket list of things that they're going to do. Which is why it seems like everybody is just out there, collecting beads. It's just a bunch of crows grabbing stuff into their nests, right? Just like you are also really excited about having live tribals, which apparently they don't even show anymore, which is fine. Because apparently one happened this very episode. Carolyn and Josh started whispering to each other, which Sarah claims is why she didn't play that fake idol. And she took this and was like, oh, if they're whispering about it now, it must not be the easy plan that they came up with. She's switching to Jam Jam. Okay. I would argue if hearing that there was that edited out and it had a potential effect on the decision making makes you upset, I hope you weren't somebody who was always complaining about live tribals. But yeah, no, it's just like there's nothing to this fake idol stuff. And frankly, I'm now at my original take was no strategic value, but there is entertainment value. So just stop talking. And as a fan community, stop talking about it like it has value, but laugh at the results. That's fine. I don't even know that it has entertainment value anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I think ultimately the result is screen time. I don't know that it's necessarily entertainment. It is content to be shown on TV. That doesn't mean it's entertaining. Like, you're not necessarily getting a funny moment from it. I think Emma brought up the "it's a fucking stick" moment last week. Now, that's truly entertaining content, but that also was just like, that's lightning striking. You're not going to get that twice, you know?
Even when especially you bring up one back out.
Right. Exactly. And, at this point, the show is casting fans of the show. You're not going to get people who are like, oh, it's a fucking stick. It must be an idol. Except the time when it legitimately was, because it matured as we do. But
yeah, now
let's talk about those idols, though.
Yeah, we have 5 idols in the game. 2 fake idols. 1 extra vote. And, all the shots in the dark. But not everyone. -2. And there's also still 1 player who doesn't have a vote yet to come. So that's a lot of stuff, right? Is that too much stuff?
It is. I mean, I think it's a lot because it's still small-ass tribes. Like, as I was saying earlier, I think if you're at 2 tribes right now, if you've consolidated into 2, it's manageable. And, 2 of those idols will disappear at the merge. So at that point, fine. The shots in the dark, I'm not super worried about. I mean,
it's nice that they're being played.
They are what they are. Right. I hardly even feel those are an advantage at this point. But the, 5 idols when every tribe is, 4 people roughly, that's a little much. Like I said, you're getting into situations like tonight where half the tribe could have been immune in a 4-person tribe. Like, it's not even, it's taking some of the excitement out of the viewing experience too, where I was like, now I know there's only 2 people who could go home theoretically if both idols are played. And, as a viewer, I'm not necessarily enjoying that scenario.
Yeah, neither of us are people who are quick to complain about these things. So I say that as that person who's usually it's all right. It's too much stuff, man. It's just too much. And it wasn't until tonight. But, throwing just 3 idols in there to solve the problem of, wow, we sure are screwing these 3 people. When the answer is, don't screw those 3 people. How about that? Just try it that way. And we don't need to add 3. And it could even been, you're going move over, but don't worry, you're immune for the very first tribal council. Not your very first tribal council, but you are going to be guaranteed 3 more days on whichever tribe you land. Maybe that would be enough. But now, it's we got probably at least 2 more episodes of 5 idols or so. That's a lot, so.
It is. And you're right. We're not generally people that are like, oh, too many idols. This does feel like too many. I could stand to, if it was, the 1 from each beach, fine. That's cool.
That's the way Survivor's always been.
Sure. And, maybe a bonus one was found in there. Okay, fine. But now when just handing them out like candy, nah, I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, and it's just the one caution I'll say of wow, this is ruined it all. It's been a hallmark of the modern Survivor that there's just going to be there is a lot of stuff in play because they keep heading to that jackpot island. and something's getting put in, and then there's the traditional ways, or maybe they're hiding something on a bench or whatever. With all that said, the last 3 seasons have not really been marked by a lot of gameplay affected by those things, right? We've had seasons where nobody's playing their idols, even though there were tons of idols out there. Then, like, most of these advantages wind up meaning nothing. So, it feels like a lot. It might not end up shaping the season at all. And maybe that's why there's a lot. Because we've gotten to this point where everybody kind of knows the moves and the counter moves, and people really like to hold on to it to try and find the optimal time to do it, and thus a lot of them end up going home with them. So maybe they feel like, well, but we want this stuff to be played, so let's just throw a bunch of it. If we put in a new thing every episode, we got to hit on something. And this episode, this season. Half the time an idol has been successfully played, so in that regard it's been fine.
And I think the idea would be that if scarcity is what's causing people to hoard the idols, well, then you just flood the market, and then it's like, they're flowing like candy, or they're flowing like water. I'm just going to go ahead and toss these idols around, play them whenever the fuck I want.
That's right. We're not worried about survivor inflation. A thought I've had, because this shifts the being screwed from the people moving tribes to the people that were there. This would be a perfect time if somebody had a knowledge is power advantage, right? Then you play it on this random person who just showed up with your tribe, and either A, they had an idol and you get it, or B, they don't have an idol and you could just vote them out.
Yep.
So look for that next week if that's the next slip of paper that somebody finds. On
the next Advantage Island.
Here's a question when we're talking about the Advantage Island there. If Soka's plan was to get rid of Josh, why'd they send him to the place of stuff?
I had that same thought as I mean, we did just see them talking about how they're all 4 on board. And so then that did make me hesitate for a second, but are all 4 of them on board? Because you feel like one of those 4 people might have said, oh, maybe not Josh.
And again, you don't want to say it in front of him in that scenario.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I get being well, I don't want to say it in front of Josh, and maybe Josh is volunteering, I'll do it, and you don't want to be oh, no, not you, because then you have to explain why not you. But yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe you say, well, oh yeah, Josh, it should be you next time, but we were really thinking Matt this week, or whatever the fuck you wanted to suggest.
Yeah, probably not Matt, but yes, because he already went.
Right, not Matt, someone, Franny, who knows.
But yeah, at the very least, and we don't know that they didn't, of course, we don't see the deliberations. Other people have to step up, oh, but I really wanted to, and then some kind of rock, paper, scissors or something. But him going is a huge fucking problem if your plan is to vote him out. And there's the idea, well, maybe he would lose his vote. Maybe, but you won't know. At the very least, now you would have to game plan for the fact that Josh might have something. It is a complicated, to the point where, can you vote him out? Or do you have to dance around it? Or at the very least, does one of you have to be a decoy? Yeah, maybe you say, hey, Matt, it's time for you to use that idol of yours, which of course isn't real. And it's you can't even be a 4-1 vote because Matt doesn't have one. They don't know that. I think Franny probably knows it, but so it's you can't do everything you can to stop Josh from going to this place.
The other thought I had is that Danny is on that tribe, and Danny's sole purpose in this game seems to be to just barrel roll over any and every surface he can find.
Which
Danny
I respect.
is yeah, I mean, I'm watching him, and he's it's you're playing one of those open world video games, you're in Zelda or something, and you have to go a long way, and you're just hitting buttons to do goofy shit to break up the monotony while you're running around. He's just combat action roll, every time, he's walking through a field, there's no danger whatsoever, and just whoosh, here I go, I'm gonna break it. I can't just walk like a normal person.
Well, it feels like the roll gets you there faster in those games.
Sure, I mean, if you want to believe that there's some sort of placebo effect where that's happening, because I don't feel I haven't noticed such a thing, but maybe mentally it feels as though that's happening.
Now, in this episode, it's actually probably the right move on those nets, so you don't fall in. But
sure.
I love it. It's of course, Danny.
Right. He did it he did it into the water, Andy.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I don't know that it's ever the ideal move to do into the water, but he's all about that life. He's not going to change now. So, yeah. My opinion on Danny is I don't understand what's happening, but having suffered through last season and people who weren't very dynamic on my television screen, I'll take this. This is an upgrade.
Yeah, Danny's top tier for me. Like, I don't have a favorite, but of the people I am most interested in, he is one of them. And it's all because his energy is different, and I'm for that.
Agreed. And like I said, I think it's partly just the result of last season where I'm like, I have a need now. Like, I cannot suffer through people who don't do things and who aren't dynamic. And like, at least Danny's bringing something. And it's really what you just said. It's just the energy, and I'll take it because it wasn't there last season.
Anything else about this episode or this cast you want to talk about?
No, that should be it for me. How about you?
Not so much about this episode or this cast, but, let's support trans rights, and Nick Wilson sucks shit. I have that to say. And, that's just a Survivor observation in general.
Oh, I was going to say that's more evergreen statement for this podcast, but sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that statement, or both of those statements, were always true.
Oh, it's true, but it feels good to say. Like, fuck
of
that
course.
guy. Fuck the horse he rode in on, and, his politics and his whole staff and record label and crew. Like, just all of it.
I almost quoted another lyric from that song. I'm like, nope, I'm not. Nope. Nope.
This would be the
Never
time
mind.
if we were still doing it. Would we play a clip? I don't think we would. I don't think we could play a clip
Nope.
of that song.
There are limits, Andy. All right, let's wrap this thing up. If you want to find us, we have a website, purplerockpodcast.com. You can find the show on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod, whoever the fuck is doing live tweeting for that now. Andy is, of course, Purple Rock Andy, and don't try to fucking look for me. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Anything else we need to plug?
Hit the theme music.
This is the copyright-free outro to the Purple Rock Survivor